can't have missed that Nokia launched a new Windows Phone flagship, the Lumia 1020, with a similar 41 megapixel camera to the Symbian running 808 PureView, but this time re-engineered to be smaller, lighter and thinner, and with optical image stabilization. There are a few compromises, but also more modern components, and performance should be on a par, all in a Windows Phone that's roughly the same size as the old Lumia 920 and yet lighter. There's 2 GB of RAM, a lot for a Windows Phone, but presumably it needs this to process those large images, captured simultaneously at 5 megapixels and 38 for easy post-capture photo tweaking. Thankfully, unlike the crippled Lumia 925, the 1020 comes with 32 GB of storage on board out of the gate. Still no micro SD though, sadly. One, so just one then, HTC. Oh no, there's now 2. Oh no, there's 4 if you count the 1X and 1X Plus. Oh, this is the HTC One Mini, with some of what made the One so great, but shrunk a little. There's now a 4.3-inch 720p screen plus a 1.4 gig Snapdragon 400. It'll be fast enough, don't worry. Just 1 GB of RAM and a sealed 16 gig of storage both give cause for concern though. This is 2013 and I think HTC will come a cropper here. Even the battery is meagre at only 1800 mAh. Okay, you get the good speakers and the ultra-pixel camera, but otherwise you really have to want the smaller form factor, in my opinion. I have, as many of you will know, been after the ultimate smartphone for years, so consider this, and let's come to the device and the form factor in a moment. Take something like my favourite Nokia 808 with fabulous camera and Xenon flash that's shooting this show, and its great speaker, and a replaceable battery, and its micro SD expansion. Now add in, get this, a fastest processor, 1.5 gig of RAM, Android 4.2.2, the very latest, an integral tripod mount, optical image stabilization in the camera, and a genuine 10 times optical zoom, plus all the other software and hardware gadgets of the Galaxy S4, including NFC, LTE, infrared blaster, and all those fancy camera modes. In other words, can you think of anything significant still to add? All of this and more is in the one phone at last, which is why I bought it. This is the Samsung Galaxy S4 Zoom. You'll spot the main caveat, of course, as soon as I turn the zoom round. The presence of a camera grip and that optical zoom assembly makes the device, well, chunkier than any other 2013 smartphone by quite a way. We've had a phablet before, so maybe this is a phamera. Don't worry, I'm not going to go there. As per the definition in Phone Show 204, this not only takes and makes phone calls and could go everywhere with you, it's also an extremely capable Android smartphone, as well as being a very capable camera. Now, cynics will point out that the S4 Zoom is just a Galaxy S4 Mini glued onto the guts of a Samsung standalone camera, and they're essentially right. Camera, phone, camera, phone. There's even amazingly an option in the settings to have this boot up as a camera rather than as a phone, but the integration is done very well, albeit with some bulk to allow for on the back. The screen's a mere QHD 540 by 960 pixels, but on a 4.3-inch Super AMOLED display, it's absolutely fine. And you'll have to use a magnifying glass to see the pixels. The processor's 1.5 GHz and dual core, but I've had no performance issues here. It's true that this and the S4 Mini aren't as nippy as the latest HTC One and Galaxy S4, but it's perfectly fine day-to-day, helped by a decent amount of RAM, as I say, 1.5 gig. This being Samsung, you've also got to factor in their physical home button here, a love it or hate it feature, plus the helpful side-mounted power button. Then there's the hardwired menu key here, but this does at least leave all of the 4.3-inch screen for content. Some of the 4.3-inch screen devices with Nexus-like virtual controls effectively end up as a sub-4-inch display most of the time. The other button worth mentioning, of course, is the camera shutter button here on the top. With the extra volume of the grip, there's plenty of room for a full travel, full-size camera shutter button, and it's wonderful. The grip itself sounds like a cosmetic gimmick, but it makes holding the S4 Zoom one-handed a lot more secure, even if you're not even using the camera. Plus, you can use it to hook the device out of a pocket. Samsung hasn't skimped on general components either, with the speaker being up to Galaxy S4 levels, probably the same component. Here's a demo. I'll probably get pulled from YouTube for this, but... well, there we go. It's not up to HTC One standards, but pretty decent. And a high-quality Xenon flash for the camera that even puts The Nokia 808s flashed to shame. The 10 times optical zoom mechanism rotates here on this ring, and it seems to be the same type as a £100 Samsung standalone. Not a high end, but certainly works pretty well. See these photo samples and examples. This is test video capture on the S4 Zoom. Pretty excellent video quality, don't forget that OIS, and pretty good sound as well. You can zoom during video capture, as I shall demonstrate. I'm probably locking the microphone up. You can hear a slight clicking as you zoom in, and yes, that is a scary close-up of me. The software is very well known, of course. See my review of the Galaxy S4 in Phone Show 200, for example, plus my passionate pruning of TouchWiz in Phone Show 197. TouchWiz is indeed very usable with a few tweaks once you get past the, well, it's not really a Nexus, psychological barrier. The battery is removable via this hatch in the bottom of the device, very camera-esque, and is 2330 mAh, which I found got me through a busy day, though with not much to spare, if I'm honest, if I've taken many photos or videos. This big camera and its motors is a big battery drain. So a nightly charge, as is usual in 2013, and at least you can buy and charge a spare battery if you need it. There'll be two main thrusts of criticism of this, the S4 Zoom. Firstly, that it's just too chunky. I agree it looks very out of place amidst a pile of iPhones, Lumias and Galaxy S4s, but I've always said that thinner phones are harder to hold while mobile and easier to drop. The S4 Zoom is so thick, and with this grip at the bottom, it's very easy in the hand and there's almost no danger of fumbling it. Secondly, it could be said that you could buy a Galaxy S4 Mini and a Samsung £100 camera and get exactly the same functions but in two separate devices, i.e. the flexibility to only use one at a time. Well indeed, but the whole point of the S4 Zoom, and the reason I'm drinking the Samsung Kool-Aid here, is you don't have to remember to bring two devices with you everywhere, or charge two devices, or juggle them in your hands. Even more than the Nokia 808 shooting this, the S4 Zoom is pure convergence between smartphone and camera, with the only compromise being the thickness. I think I can live with this, and I'll be using this no doubt over a lot of the summer vacation. I'll report back in the Phone Show Chat podcast, of course. Will the Galaxy S4 Zoom make it into my next top 5? I doubt it. Despite its status in my mind as the ultimate geek gadget, it's surely going to be somewhat niche in its appeal. In the meantime, smile. You're on camera.